Welcome back to the Pearls and Pearls podcast. I'm your host, Peta-Kay, and I'm joined today by returning guest, Chante Bennett, the one and only period. Business mogul, just that girl, it girl, ops specialist, all the things. Look at her, she's smiling. You can't see her, but she's smiling. And so we are actually starting a new series, which you might notice on the title. So we went live on TikTok a few days ago, and it was just a random live. Chante was like, "Oh, do you want to go live today?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl, let's go live." Because we've been talking about going live on TikTok, and we decided to go live. We had so much fun. And one of the people that joined our live was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is like Ghetto Therapy." And I love the name so much. We both love the name so much. We're like, "Oh my gosh, we should like make this like a series." So here we are. So new series for 2026 on the podcast is the Ghetto Therapy. And who better to join me on this than Miss Chante Bennett, period.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being, you've been back. You have been the most consistent guest. You part of the furniture.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for today's conversation because it's something we've spoken about. And you said, actually, we should talk about this on a podcast. But we're here now. We're recording in December, but this will be out in January 2026. Can you imagine?
I know. A new year, literally next week.
I cannot get my mind around it. I really can't get my mind around it. But yeah, 2026. Well, Happy New Year. Let's start off by saying that to the people.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I hope you had a good Christmas.
I do. I hope you had a good Christmas, a good start to the year. And honestly, I hope you're excited for this year. I do feel like, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing, but as you get older, you go through more things in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get tainted. The excitement of a new year isn't there as much.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Especially if you've been one of God's strongest soldiers.
Literally.
And you just want to catch a break.
For a new year. That's literally, I'm like, can it just be 2026 yet? So I can just like start fresh.
Yeah, I just need that reset. So today we're actually talking about a different kind of topic. We're talking about financial abuse. But I think when it comes to financial abuse, a lot of the time there's focus on one specific area of this, which is the relationship side and that kind of dynamic. But there is an unspoken side, which we are going to explore today. And Chante is going to share her experience. And yeah, for anyone listening, I'm really excited for us to kind of go into something different. You know, the podcast is the Pearls and Perils. So Chante is going to be sharing her perils with us. And I'm sure there's lots we'll be able to take away from it. And I think also just having this conversation, I think it's all a matter of starting it here. Maybe even you listening will be able to relate to some of the things Chante has spoken about. Or maybe it will even make you think of other people you know that might be experiencing something similar. So I really hope that this conversation can spark more of a conversation outside of this. So before we get into Chante's story, I do want to read you guys the definition of financial abuse. And even this definition, there's a little bit of layer I want to add to it, but I want to read it anyway. Because again, I think it does focus on a particular area. So financial abuse is the mistreatment of someone in terms of their money or assets, such as their property. Financial abuse often occurs alongside other forms of abuse, which I totally agree with. Because I think sometimes there can be coercive control, emotional abuse that comes into play as well. But again, a lot of the time when you think of that, you think of it in a relationship context, a spouse, a romantic partner. But we don't talk about the parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
And that was your experience, isn't it, Chante?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about when you actually realized, before you share your experience, when did you realize that what you've experienced and you're going to share with us today was financial abuse? Like, at what moment did that click? I'm going to repeat that because I could hear him. At what moment did that click in your mind? Like, oh my gosh, what I experienced was financial abuse.
To be honest with you, I think I remember the year, which was like 2019. Towards the middle end of 2019, and how I realized it was I was actually in therapy. So I started doing therapy from I was 23 years old. So that was like the second time me doing therapy, and I was talking through obviously my experience, the situation that I was in, like what was going on at that time, and I was basically describing what was happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they kind of summarize, oh, you was experiencing financial abuse. And then I was like, huh? I was like, what? Like, what is that? That's a thing? And then since then, I then started to realize it's this, it's that. And then I could see how people was trying to continue that with me. So then, because I picked it up then, I could like block it out. When I say, don't want to use the word block it out, but more like
protect yourself.
Protect myself and kind of avoid it, or like divert, or know how to keep certain people out and away from me from that happening again. But that's when I was basically 2019, I'll say, towards the end. And then it became, but then over time, after, you know, like when you do therapy and you learn new things, or you have more of a understanding of what experience you're going through, your eyes just start to open up, and then you just start to like see previous and past things for what it is, and you're like, oh damn, that's what that was.
So going through therapy gave you the language for what that was. Like, oh, this was abuse.
Basically. But then I think maybe the acceptance part came years after, because you're still getting used to like, oh, what that was or what's happened, but your brain is kind of like the more you reflect and go through things, and then if you're still in contact with that person, and they obviously, you're in knowledge now, so then you actually see their behavior and how they're trying to continue doing that, then you're like, oh damn, you know.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about your experience. So where do you even want to start, girl? What? Okay, I'll help you. What was the first experience that you know of, or that you can recall of you experiencing this financial abuse? And then how did you find out? Because of course it happened and then you found out after the fact.
Maybe I should talk about when I became aware. Well, okay, became aware of the situations. But in that time, I didn't know what that it was still. I didn't know it was financial abuse. I was just aware of the situation, and then I think I can then go into stuff that I didn't know, but then find out. So I guess it all started when I was in university, and I kept getting like, I think I was in my placement year. Yeah, I was in my placement year in the summer, going into my final year. And I just kept getting phone calls from creation. But obviously, I haven't taken out any form of credit to my acknowledgement. The only thing I had was my credit card, my Santander credit card, which I always, like, at that stage, I was always working. I had money, put money on it or whatever. I had a little limit of like £500, which was basically nothing. And I knew at that time only to use half, and when you use it, you whatever. So that wasn't like anything. So I kept getting this phone call, and I remember I spent like almost, let's say, a good 9 months just cussing them away. Like, I don't owe you anything. I don't know why you're calling me. Like, who are you? And because they were so persistent, I got to a point where I just started asking them the questions like, how did you get my number? How do you know this information about me? And then they'll be like, oh, you know, you took something out on credit. I'm like, what is the item? What is it that I took out? And they'll give me the details. And then straight away, I kind of knew who to call to ask, like, what is this? Is this true? This company has called me. Like, what's going on, basically? And then that's when the person was like, oh, I'm going to pay it back. You know, just tell them this. And I would literally reiterate to them what the person told me to say, like, it will get paid and this and that. And I'm still in university at that point. And then when I was in uni, I always worked. So I always had money. I always had my own money. And I remember when there was a period when I was switching from placement year, I got a new job, and I was also doing nails then as well. So I always had money. So then I was like, oh, I need to buy a new laptop for my final year. And I remember I was with my friend, and I was like, should I just get a MacBook? And it was like, I remember it being like £1,000 whatever pound. But I was like, oh, I got the money, I can pay for it, and I'll still have money left. And I remember she basically suggested to me, oh, because you have the money, why don't you just get it on finance? And that way you can take your time and pay it off. And you basically feel like you still have money because you didn't spend the whole 1,000, right? And then I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. So I went to Apple, told them what I wanted, told them that I wanted to get on
I see where
finance.
this has gone.
And then they were like, obviously they would ask me questions like, do you work? And I was like, yeah, I work. I have income. I'm also a student. I have this amount of money saved up. Like, I was literally telling them like I'm in a good situation. I can afford it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, like, okay, you should be fine. We just need to do a credit run. And I was like, who are you doing that with? They were like, with Barclays. And I was like, oh, that's like my bank. I've been telling you, I love Barclays. That's my favorite bank. So they were like, yeah, you should be fine. So they did a credit run, and then they came over to me and they were like, oh, for some reason that's not gone through. And obviously I was looking at my friend was looking at me, and she was just like, do you have anything? I was like, I just have my credit card. And I explained to the guy, and the guy was like, well, if you only have that and this is how you use it, that shouldn't be. He basically said there might be something else that you might just need to check, but for now it's a no.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, oh, so then I ended up just buying an iPad in cash. I think it was like £200 to £300. And then I went and bought a laptop from HP because I got discount as a student anyways. So I just kind of like went on and did that.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into the reason why I got rejected more.
Okay.
I kind of just maybe put it down to, maybe it's just because I'm a uni student. I think I put it down all to that.
Yeah.
Just a uni student. Maybe I thought I could try, but not. Maybe I need to wait. And I just continued, did my final year. Then I finished final year, graduated, went back home. Started noticing letters in my name, so I had to obviously question a parent about where these letters are from, why are they in my name, when it started, and also obviously the discussion of when is it gonna get paid. Now at the time I didn't realize how detrimental it. Okay, first of all, I didn't realize how long it had not been paid for.
Okay.
And then second of all, I didn't know how detrimental it meant if it wasn't going to be paid for on time and kept to. So for the first, let's say I moved back home in like May. From May to December, that was 2017. I just remember constantly asking every month, like, is it going to get paid or not? Oh, there was a third one. There was a third thing that came up. Okay, so this is what happened. I then signed up and paid for Experian because I then was like, okay, what does this mean for my credit?
Yeah.
Because the reason why I got my Santander credit card was when I was about 2021. And I remember going to the bank, and obviously because I was working, I remember this person, they looked at me, they're like, oh, you're really young. And I was just like, oh, I look younger than my age, but I'm actually this age. And he was just like, oh, like, are you a student and you work? And I was just like, yeah. And he was just intrigued in, like, I guess from there he could see that I was an ambitious person.
Yeah.
So I then told him what my life goals was and what my plan was to do during uni and after, which involved, I said to him, my plan is that I want to basically work and save up whilst I'm studying. And then when I finish, get a good job and stack up so I can start building a property portfolio. That's when he then told me, oh, you're going to need to have good credit and, you can start building up your credit. And he was just like, at the time, he asked me if I pay for anything myself. And I was like, at the time, I think I said, I don't think I had paid for my phone bill as yet because my phone bill was still under my dad.
Okay.
So then I said to him, no. He was just like, don't pay for anything. So he was like, oh, you would be qualified to get a credit card. And I was like, and I remember saying to him, no, I don't want one. And he was just like, no, just get like a small limit of £500. He taught me how to use it. And he said that should help you build up. Because he was like, I can see you're an ambitious person. Just start building up from now. So then you can like hit your goals or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was there thinking I'm building up my credit with this £500 credit limit, not knowing that my credit's actually being ruined behind my back by someone else in the meantime. So then I remember just thinking, okay, let me sign up to Experian and see everything.
Yeah.
See what this means. I signed up and I came across a third one, an EE bill. So it was an EE bill where I think a parent had damaged my phone. They broke it on purpose. Okay. And so I refused to get a new phone, and I was paying off the EE without having any phone. Yeah. They got frustrated with not being able to get in contact with me because I was like, you are the one that broke my phone that I got. Yeah. So why would I replace my phone? You're the only person that really want to keep in contact me with like that, calling my phone and everything. Whereas my friends, they can wait to see me in person, or they can contact me on social media.
Yeah.
So you're the only annoying one, really. I don't really need my phone for you to be calling me down. And then they basically took me to O2, and that's when I switched from EE to O2. And they had told me that they had paid off the EE bill because I refused to get a phone. I refused to change anything. So they did everything they claimed.
Okay.
So then when I did the experience, I saw that the EE was under my name and it wasn't paid for. It was £70 or £90 not paid for the course of about 3 to 4 years. And I remember calling
and
EE.
it wasn't even a large amount.
Exactly. So what I did was I called EE and I paid for it straight right there and then. The minute I saw an experience, I called EE and I paid for it straight away.
Yeah.
I said to them, I explained the situation and what happened and said, if I was aware of this, or if I knew the person didn't have any intentions in paying you, I would have just done it myself.
Yeah.
But I'm only just recovering it. And obviously at the time it was already a default.
Yeah.
So it was like I had to wait 3 more years for it to go. So it was nothing I could do, but I just paid for it just to show that, like, the minute I became aware of it, I paid it. So then there was that. So then obviously I still have the other two to deal with because they hadn't been paid for years as well. And then I thought, okay, I'm not gonna do this because I didn't take these out.
Yeah.
So I said to the person, like, you need to pay for these. Every month it was, yeah, I'll pay, yeah, or something's come up.
Do you recall roughly what the amounts were? But this was like lines of credit for different items that they took
very, I can't remember how much it started at, but because I just kept reducing it because I was so frustrated. I was just like, I don't want them to be able to use it. But then I realized, oh, you just need to change the password. So in the beginning, I kept telling them very like to reduce it. And then after that, it wasn't being paid for. And then I think I remember him trying to use it again. So I changed the password and everything on it. Yeah, I changed access to it. So basically, in the beginning, it was everything just stayed, and I didn't remember how much because that person's meant to deal with it. Because at this point of that, it's not my responsibility because I didn't take it out. So I was pretty much detached. Now, January 2018, I remember going to a financial seminar by like Bola Sola.
Okay.
My friend had invited me. This was in Peckham, and I drove. At the time, I was driving, so I drove all the way from East to Peckham. And obviously, it's about personal finance. So she's talking about like credit, income, expense, like she's covering everything.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I came out of it, my friend could notice that I was really upset. And at this point, I was trying to hold in tears, but my friend kept asking me what's wrong. Yeah. And I burst out crying, and I was just like, my credit's been ruined, and it's not me. So then I explained to her the situation, and she was like to me, bearing in mind, when I graduate straight away, I'm paying rent, I'm giving money straight away.
Yeah.
So she was like, so you pay rent, you pay towards food bills, yet your credit is not, like, the things are not being paid
for.
So she was just like, girl, you need to say. So she was like, why don't you suggest that you pay for these, because clearly, because it's not in his name, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's not paying it off. Why don't you basically say, instead of me paying rent or contributing to these bills, give me some time to actually pay these off, basically pay off your debt.
Yeah.
And not pay rent, because it's not fair if I'm paying off your debt and paying
rent.
That
is insane, but yeah.
So I remember when I brought that suggestion to him, and he basically agreed.
Okay.
But in agreement with me, he was rushing me. He was like, you need to pay them within 6 months. And I was
so when you were meant to be paying, there was no timeline and no rush.
No timeline, no
but
rush.
But now, because you ain't getting my contribution, you're giving me deadline
to pay your debt so I can hurry up and give you money. So that happened, and then I was paying it off and I was taking my time. But when I then started paying for it, that's when I became more knowledgeable of. So for example, with the creation one, I remember like looking at the amount, because it was for TV, right? And I think the TV might have been about 300 or something pounds. But then I was like looking back at the missed payments and the amount, and obviously there's interest, right? So then I called up Creation and I was like to them, can you tell me how much is the TV and how much has been paid for? And then she told me how much it was. That's when I knew it was around about the pullback of like three to 500. It was money where if he asked me for cash, I could have given it to him.
Yeah.
So I was a bit frustrated on that because I was like, bro, like you didn't need to actually go and take that out. I could have given you money because I was already giving you money when I was at university.
Yeah.
You know, I was already lending you money because I was always working. I always had money. So then that happened, and then so then when they told me how much it was, and then I said to them, so how much have I got left to pay? Then that's when I realized I'm paying more than the TV's costs. And they're like, yeah, because of the interest.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I was asking so much question to the lady, she turned around and she said to me, Chante, did you take this out? And I said, no, I didn't. And I started crying on the phone. And she said, you know the minute you realize that, this wasn't you.
Yeah.
That's when I get the education that I was meant to report it as fraud.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you have a family member, you're not thinking that. You're thinking
fraud.
And
you're thinking of a stranger.
Yeah, you're thinking of a stranger. And you're not thinking, and then the family member is telling you, oh, I'm gonna pay it, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then they're not doing it for months. So you're like, what's going on? So that's when she told me, like, and she added a note to the account. When I explained everything to her and stuff, she added a note because she realized every time they were calling me, I was just getting bare emotional.
Yeah.
So then she added a note and she was just like, I'm so sorry that, you're experiencing that. And obviously she said the reason why it's too late to do it as fraud now is because you started paying for it. So you've basically claimed responsibility. But she was just like, next time if this happens, you report them. She literally said, doesn't matter who it is, whether it's your sister, your brother, your mom, she was just like, your mom, your dad. She was like, you report it next time. Yeah. And I was just like, I wasn't aware that was an option, because if it was, I definitely would have done that.
Yeah.
So then I was basically just tired in paying it because I already set up all just direct debits and all these stuff. But it's the fact that because I was questioning them what it was, she clearly saw, this don't sound like this is she's, because how can she not know this? And she's trying to understand. I'm trying to understand what's going on. So it gave it away that it wasn't me, and she put that on the account. Yeah, I remember I think when I calculate the total of how much I paid, I think it came up to like 1,000.
Wow.
And I remember being so pissed because I was like, I could have actually given you that cash for that TV because I had it.
Yeah.
And then with the very one, again, I would pay it, and every time I paid it, I reduced the limit, and I just changed the details. And I can tell you now, like, I never went back and used that very. And I think the account's gone now, because I think maybe when I haven't even tried in years. I think there was one time I said, oh, let me try and log in or whatever. And I was just like, I don't really need it, and I think that's when my PTSD started with finance, credit, taking things. Because you know me, I'm always like, I always try to just have enough cash to just get what I need to do.
Yeah. And
all the time, like even recently, like this year, someone has been like, oh, what about credit? What about? And I'm like, that's a lot. I don't think about that. Yeah. That's the last thing I think about. So whilst I was doing that because these didn't even get paid off until like 2020. So I remember I started that deal. So let me do that. Because imagine it hasn't been paid for like coming up to a year now.
Yeah.
So that's like going in the 3rd, 4th year of nothing being paid for these things.
Yeah.
So just think of the interest and the defaults and everything.
The fees, yeah.
It's just terrible. So whilst I'm doing that,
did any of them get sold to like debt collectors at that stage or no? It was still with the creditors.
Creation, I don't think so, because I guess at this point I got to a point where I took control.
Got it.
If I didn't, it would have
got to that stage.
Yeah, it would have got to that stage. But I took control. So actually, maybe creation went to debt collectors. The creation might have, but the very didn't.
Okay.
I think the creation did, because remember they kept calling me. And remember when I was at uni, I was like, who are you? Yeah. I don't know who you are. Leave me alone. Stop calling my number. Please delete my number. Yeah. Take my details off your system. But they're still calling because obviously they're like, is this girl crazy? Yeah. So maybe the creation one went to debt collectors, but the very one didn't, because it was like online account. So it it would just send a bad report to my file.
Okay.
Basically, and obviously when I got the experience, I discovered that. And then, but whilst I was doing that, then he basically suggests, why don't you take out a credit card to help build back your thing? And I was just very much like, no. But then I looked into it, and I remember I took out Vanquish, and it did help. It did help. But as it was helping building my credit, he didn't kick me out. So now I'm back to square one, basically. So, and the kick out was because I was being rushed to pay off a debt for someone else.
Yeah.
And there were so many other things to it, like things of mine getting stolen without my knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I'm not getting the cash that I deserve because it's my properties.
Yeah.
And then told that ultimatum, give this amount of money or basically leave. But I'm still basically in the process of paying off a debt that you took out in my name. So I'm paying off a debt for you. You basically cash in my properties that I bought so you could get cash. I was just like, yeah, I might as well just leave. This is not really living, you know? And then moved out, and that's when I did therapy again. I did, so I was like, I need to talk to someone because, and then during those therapy session during that season is when I was speaking about the whole situation, and they were like, you basically have been experiencing financial abuse.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, yeah,
wow.
Basically.
After hearing that, like the therapist actually given you the language for that experience.
Yeah.
Did that change? Well, I'm sure you already had maybe seen that parent differently.
Yeah.
But hearing that language, did that change the way that you saw that parent? Or did it just kind of validate maybe feelings you had? I don't know.
I think it validated. I think over time it made me see the parent differently.
Yeah.
Even more. Because when you're throwing that word, you don't it's not like it didn't click to me straight away.
Yeah.
It's over time. It's like when things will happen and I'll just remember financial abuse. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say over time it definitely did change. Like, even, I mean, with what was going on already, I was already changing how I saw the parent, but I think that it kept continuing because I had more of understanding of what was going on or what happened basically. And then did it validate how I was feeling? I would say at the time, no, because I didn't have any like knowledge of what that even was.
Yeah.
So I was still processing, what that means. Like, so eventually, yeah, it did. So I'll say being told that over time, everything else kind of like was like, okay, so this is what this is and stuff like that. Yeah. Because it was a lot. It was a lot to process.
I can imagine.
At the time, it was a lot to process.
And also at the time, was there anyone besides your therapist that you spoke to about it, or was it just
like a lot of my friends?
A
lot of my friends knew. At the time, I never really spoke to any family members outside because I just guess like they were obviously, yeah, I was like an early adult, but like older adults that's like 40s, 50s, 30s. Like I never thought to ever confide in a family member, but I just confided in friends. And I guess at that point, some friends wouldn't have even clicked to them that that's what it was. They just knew like that was a bit mad. Yeah. That was mad, that was happening, and that shouldn't really be happening because their parents wasn't doing that. Yeah. So to them, it just looked and sounded insane. Yeah. And to some friends, I think they knew what it was, but like it wasn't like they'll be like, oh, that's what. They would just kind of like, no, like, yeah, that's not right. But yeah, I think at that stage, mainly confining in friends. It was not until like years after I then spoke to family members that was like, yeah, nah, that should not have happened.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
that is a lot.
Basically.
Your favorite word. Yeah, that's tough. What advice would you give to anyone who's in the same position? Because again, the financial abuse that you've gone through was credit being taken out in your name without your knowledge, but
properties
also
being sold without my knowledge.
Properties.
Yeah.
Oh, your property.
Yeah,
Sure, you said property.
oh, sorry, not houses, but like my equipment,
Yeah,
my
your belongings.
stuff,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, my
No, my mind.
belongings.
I said what?
My
But yeah,
belongings.
I just went to a
Yeah.
completely different place. But I know what you mean now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what advice would you give to someone that might be in the same situation? They've found, because
Yeah.
these things, unfortunately, they do happen.
Yeah. And also, I guess as well, like I would say, okay, I'm not saying I'm against like children paying contribution to the home,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's
like
where I was gonna
over,
go because we were talking about that
yeah,
offline.
but like over excess, you know, it's like it's not right. Like for example, let's say a parent owned their home,
Mm.
right? And there's two adults in the home that bought the properties and they own the properties. Now I understand if you need help with like food and stuff like that to,
Yeah.
or like, you know, cover one bill or something. I get that. But to literally be like, you know, like give us X amount, which straight out of uni, bro. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those lucky ones. I got a job straight out of uni.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was told immediate, like when I went home and I said, "Oh my gosh, I got the job." My immediate response was, it wasn't just like, "Congrats, well done." It was like, "Oh, you know, you're gonna need to start paying towards the bills, right?" And I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
okay." And I remember thinking, like, after 6 months, like I get a 6 months lenient or breather space, right? And they were like, "Well, when you get paid, like you give money." And I was like, "Bro, I'm just coming from uni with how many debts?
Yeah.
Like, are you for real?" And I remember instantly messaging so many of my course mates, like, "Yo," like they might not have gotten like their first corporate job, but they were like working.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, "Hey, do you have to?" And they're like, "Nah, like my parents are like, wait until I get a proper job, and then even then they'll probably give me like a few months breather and then I start contributing."
Yeah.
And I remember telling them like, "Oh, I have to do it straight away." And they were like, "Raw." Like that was literally their response. Like, what could they say?
Yeah.
You know? And then even like after that, you know, moving out and then during COVID, going back briefly. And I remember, you know, like a lot of people was losing their jobs. A lot of companies wasn't hiring.
Yeah.
I was on a contract and the contract ended. And so I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna do like self-employment full time and like see how it goes," because there was no jobs, there was nothing going on. Then I ended up having to leave again because I was told that I should be paying bills out of my savings. Like to go in my save, I was like, I go in my savings and pay. I was just like, I'm better off leaving this place, you know?
Yeah.
And luckily, lockdown lifted, so I could leave. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just, I just, again, that's when the financial abuse thing really clicked, because when it was like, okay, I'm not really able to contribute right now, it was like, "Oh, but you've got savings, so give us your savings." And
Mm.
it was like, sorry? It was like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
So then it was very clear, like, it's gonna still be financial abuse if I come back here or stay here.
Yeah.
So then I was like, when I leave, I could never come back, because if someone is used to basically taking advantage and getting their own way, they're not gonna, just because you grow up and you become an adult, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop or
Yeah.
that they won't. They'll continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, wait, your question was what would I advise people
In that position, yeah.
in that position? I would say speak to a professional, speak to friends, like don't speak to like obviously people that you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
A trusted friend. I don't even know whether to say speak to a family member, because you have to be really careful
Yeah.
which family member you even speak to, because if they are on the side or have the mentality of the person that is doing the abuse, they're going to back them,
Yeah.
because abusers always see abusers always can see which, or have some sort of way where they can benefit from a situation.
Mm.
So you have to kind of be careful of that. But I would say you have to come finding people that you know that can support you. So whether that's like close friends, even if it's to speak to like, you know, like you have the what is it? Is it like debt support lines?
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised the advice that you could get from them as well.
Yeah.
And just explaining like the situation, and they'll be able to advise you what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it depends. It depends what specifically the advice is, I would say. But yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Thank you. But yeah, I'd definitely say, even going back to what you were advised, reporting it.
Yes,
I think
reporting
if
it,
it's a
because I
stage of
didn't
you've
know.
just found out,
Yeah,
report it.
Yeah, if you, for example, if you've gone away to uni or you live at home and then you find out that something was taken out of your name, and like even if you just find out today or you just found out yesterday and you realize it's been taken out of your name years ago, but you had no clue, and you know that it's basically ruined or affected or impact your credit, I will literally just say report it immediately.
Yeah.
Would I even say have a conversation with the person? I would say no. I would say go straight, because I think because I wasn't aware, if I didn't have a conversation with that person first, I would have just went straight to report if I knew that was even
An
like a
option.
thing. Yeah. Because obviously when you live somewhere and your parents are at home, you're basically thinking, oh, let me ask them what's going on, because they might know, because I've been away for uni for 4 years. They've been in the house. The letters come in here, so maybe they understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That was basically my logic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're listening to this podcast and you come across something, whether it's now, whether it's in the future, would I advise you go to the parent and ask? I would say no, because that gives room for coercion, though, for them to manipulate,
Mm-hmm.
to lie, to be deceitful. And you kind of, I don't know, you kind of want to avoid, I mean, people know their parents best, right? So if you know your parents have those sort of like toxic traits or whatever, then stay away from communicate with them and just go straight to report it. Because at the end of the day, if you didn't take that out, you can report it. It's just like you said, if it was strangers, you wouldn't be, oh, let me find a stranger and have a conversation with them and speak to them and see what we can work out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the time people will think that because it's family, it should be managed maybe differently because they don't want to hurt them. But in hindsight, if that person, one thing I've learned recently is if that person is not considerate to you, why should you be considerate to them? And I wish that I had this mindset way much sooner and like years ago, because then I would have been like, you know what? I don't need to consider you. Like, this has happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's what I would say, basically.
Yeah, that is.
And even when it comes to contributing to the home, like, I remember seeing on socials, I was telling you the other day that, I can't remember the amount that this girl was paying, but according to her circumstance, it wasn't like she was like, late, mid-20s. She was young.
Wow.
And I think her mom was taking like between £500 to £800 from her. I can't remember, but it was a significant amount for the age and the stage in life that she was at.
Yeah.
And I remember everyone rallying online saying like, this is not correct, this is not right.
Yeah.
This is literally, people was calling it black tax versus financial abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much financial abuse, because when everyone was having an uproar online, she went to her mom and said, hey, can you reduce this? And her mom said yes. So everyone was then like, so why does she need to charge you that much?
Yeah.
I feel like when let's say you started working at like 16, 18, even then, I don't think you need to contribute. You are literally still a child. Your parent is responsible for you until you're 18.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you start working. Not everyone's going to be going to uni straight away. Some people are going to be working and they might have like actual decent jobs or whatever. You can just start off by contributing to like maybe the Wi-Fi, maybe like food, maybe, I mean, no one really watches, like back then, my day, it was like Sky and that.
Yeah.
But, everyone's got their own accounts or family accounts for Netflix or whatever. Like everyone streams now. But do you know what I mean? Maybe like, and then it depends if you're home all the time, like electricity, gas, those sort of bit. You start on those sort of bills.
Yeah.
And then the rent wise, I just don't think it should be extra. Like, it was basically like, I think I remember seeing them saying the girl was basically paying, the amount she was paying was like paying in a room that you'd rent. But why do you need to pay that in your childhood home?
Yeah.
I understand contributing to the bill and I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But like a whole London rent for your
Yeah,
child,
at that
and
point,
she's
she might
literally
as well
living
move
in.
out.
You might as well move out, and that's
Yeah.
what I got to. I was like, I might as well move out. I wasn't happy here. You guys are constantly trying to make me miserable. You're basically trying to affect my finances left, right, and center. I might as well just leave.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, it's okay to contribute, but it needs to be reasonable. Like, it can't be extortionate and like you're trying to take the mick, because at some point. And also, another thing I want to say is sometimes people might feel like, oh, like let's say they're in a single parent household and they might be like, oh, my mom is constantly working or whatever. I want to give a lot. If you have that money to give, fair enough.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be made to feel that like you then have to take on the full responsibility of your mom's bills.
Yeah.
You know, like mom or dad, whichever one, or parents, they literally have support from like so many different organizations, the government if they can, like certain things you're entitled to if you're in some sort of situation.
Yeah.
There's organizations that they can literally seek that can help them speak to their creditors. You shouldn't have to feel the pressure that you have to then cover their shortcomings,
Yeah.
because they can be supported by in those way by their creditors, the organizations that the government has, or the government. Literally, there's one thing I've learned in this UK, there's always some sort of help, some sort of way that you can find ease or like release pressure. It's just about seeking it and finding it.
Yeah.
And yeah, your child don't need to come and then have that pressure felt on them. I'm just so against that. I just don't think it's right.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I do think, like, even when you're speaking about the example of TikTok and that girl and the people saying that it was family tax or
Well,
financial abuse,
black tax, or like
that's where I was
it
going to
was
get
falling
into.
under black tax and financial abuse. So some people was like, oh my gosh, this is just black tax is terrible. And some people are like, no, this is actually financial abuse. She's paying to be in a childhood home that she grew up in.
Again, it's the language, because the term black tax, a lot of people in the black community use that term, but a lot of the time the black tax is financial abuse,
basically.
But it's just coined under that. There's a difference
Yeah.
between, let's say, for example, a lot of people, they'll contribute to family members back home, that you can say it's family tax. But when somebody's doing something deceitfully or being put pressure on you to do something, or you have to give me your first pay, or you have to give me this amount, you've got a bonus, okay, you have to. When there's that pressure and decisions are being made for you, and it's almost like
you don't have a
you don't
say.
have the wiggle room to actually have autonomy, that's when it is abuse. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes in those situations, and I think sometimes culture does play a part in it as well. Like, when I think about people that have been through something similar to you, it's that the relationship dynamic with their parents is often, I'm the parent, you're the child, you have to listen to me, even if I'm wrong. And it's like, there's no accountability. And I think that's the hard part sometimes of being an adult, like getting to that place now where it's like, okay, especially when you are surrounded by these unhealthy patterns, you have to make that decision to break it, which is not easy. And it can be hard to say to your parent, you know what, you need to fix up, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like, having that conversation, or even coming to the realization that someone that's meant to protect you has actually harmed you, has lied to you, has been deceitful, that's not an easy thing to accept. But I think, honestly, you have to do what is best for your well-being. And unfortunately, sometimes you do have to set distance with parents or family members that are toxic, especially if it's in a stage where it's now affecting your livelihood. The way that you feel is impacting you, and there's no accountability. I think it's a different dynamic where the person's messed up and they're like, you know what, I'm so sorry, and they're actually taking that step to show you that they want to rebuild the trust, than they're just like, okay, yeah, but deal with it, kind of thing. That's what their actions are saying. So I'd say, sometimes you gotta make them tough decisions.
I agree. It's true. It's very true, because it's wild.
It is. Like, even we probably need to have a whole other episode on family cycles and toxicness in families,
100%.
because
I was gonna say
it's a whole wider conversation.
Another podcast that needs to be had is the whole situation with sending money back home, because that's another. Obviously, I don't have both parents in this country. I was raised by one parent, and I have another parent that was, well, growing up, they were based in another country, and obviously, I also had started supporting them from the time I was 16, and that's a whole nother that's okay. That started as black tax, but then it became financial abuse also. But that's a whole nother episode
Yes.
to talk about that. But yeah.
I'm probably going to put a poll somewhere, guys, especially for those on Spotify. Do you want us to have an episode where we talk about black tax and contributions and just family dynamic and culture and how that plays a part? Because even talking about that, I've had a client in particular that got into debt because of helping their family beyond their means. And I remember when they told me this, I was like, firstly, stop, because you can't afford to help them, and you're not helping yourself. And for them, hearing that was like, because even when we're going through it, like, okay, so why did you have this debt? And hearing the reasons, it was nothing to do with them, it was all their family. And just seeing that, it really showed me the extent of it. That so many times, like, people families are made to go through. Yeah, people really are taking on all that stress and strain, and it's not even your cross to carry. Like, it's
and
a
I
lot.
get it. Like, I think naturally we want to like help our family, want to support our family, protect our family. But to be honest, like, and I'm sure maybe that was, I don't know about that situation, but a lot of the times you're helping family members that didn't want to be held accountable, didn't want to be responsible, and just basically made wrong decisions that you then felt, or they made you feel like, oh my gosh, that how can I help? How can I support? Or they're asking you in a way that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to help them.
But also, I think more so with the family dynamic, or if you've had someone that's maybe been your caregiver, they've looked after you, they might not be your parent, but they've raised you up. There's that feeling sometimes I owe them. One more say it's funny when I think about it. From a young age, I've always said to my mom, I don't know who I thought I was, but she didn't kill me, I'm still here. But whenever we'd have, like, I'll be upset if I'd be like, I never asked to be here. But it's true. I never asked to be here. It's true. It's so I never asked to be here. And therefore, I don't owe any parent anything, because it was not my decision to be born. It was my decision to move to the UK. And even for me and my relationship with my mom, she's never been a parent that's like, oh, you owe me anything. She's made sacrifices, but she's always said, like, I chose to have you. And it's true. And I wish more parents, and also me and my mom, we're going to have a podcast episode together. We're going to record at some point. But also, when I hear sometimes the things some people go through with their parents, well, more so their moms, and I just think, yo, but it's true. We never asked to be here.
Yeah, you decided to continue the pregnancy, like, period. Bro, that was you.
And also, because I've always said that to my mom, I know if I have kids, I need to make sure that I know that I wanted them, because they might say the same, but it's true. At the end of the day, there is a sense of respect and love, and of course, you want to give back. Yeah. But at the end of the day, your children do not owe you anything.
And the difference is, some parents make you feel like, oh, you owe me, like you're made to. Versus the parents that they look after you how they're meant to, thingy. So then you're like, you know what? I want to pay you back. My parents are more like, yeah, you owe us. And I don't know if that's because they had me young. They were literally kids having kids. Yeah. That's why for me, I'm just like you said, I'm always big on, I didn't ask you to have me. If anything, if I had my way, I would have chose not to come. Like, period. If I had my way, I would have chose not to come.
That was the end of my line. I was happy where I was.
Yeah, no, literally, like, if you would have just gotten rid of me so I could have been born somewhere else in a different family, oh God, hopefully like a better family, if it was, I would have been happy. Like, I would have been fine. I never asked for it. So, and especially at that young age, I'm not gonna, like, one particular parent would always talk to me about sacrifice. Oh, from young, from, I think I was like young, like, I want to say late teens, early 20s, they used to always bang on about sacrifice this, sacrifice that, sacrifice this, sacrifice that. And I'm not going to kid you, I didn't really know what they really meant. Yeah. I was just like listening, like, okay. I just read that as, oh, you did a lot. Like, you went through a lot. Like, you. Not me. You. Yeah. So I just saw that as, like, they were just banging on about, like, maybe their hardships and everything. But then when I got a bit older and I did therapy, I realized they meant, like, sacrifice for you. They just forgot that part for me. So I didn't receive it that way. Yeah. But then as I got older, I realized, and I was like, bro, no one told you to do that. You chose to do that. And if anything, I would have told you, you could have just thrown me away. It would have been all right. It would have actually been okay. Damn. But yeah, like, being made to feel like you owe them because I don't know, they decided to go with the decision with having you young or like, that's not on me.
And do you know what? I get this even like as you're talking, I was writing a few things down for what I'm thinking the next episode we can explore is. So I'm thinking like black tax, family dynamic, and living in the diaspora, and that burden of being the first generation or the second generation.
Yeah.
Because even with that, there is that sense of entitlement, like, oh, I've done all these things, so you should give back. But also, like you said, we didn't really ask to be born. And also, you've got to take it in the context. Like, life is so expensive right now. And so many of our counterparts, they've started off with, oh, you know, when I turned 21, 22, my grandma gave me this amount of money to help get my first property.
Yeah.
Some of us, child, there was no nothing. There was no handout. There was nothing.
And also,
you're literally starting from
scratch.
Literally.
And also, I think as well, even to make someone feel like they owe you because of all of that, it's like, why don't you also maybe if you treat the person how they're supposed to be treated, and how they're supposed to be felt, like, you know, like welcomed and cared for, you won't have to remind that person or say that to that person. That person will naturally want to give back. But if you've not treated that person well, if the relationship you've not built or maintained a healthy relationship with that person, with that child, or the person you cared for whilst you was raising them, you wouldn't have to even those things wouldn't have to leave your mouth. You wouldn't have to say that, because the person will see, the person will recognize, especially if you believe that you've raised someone well. They'll recognize and see, and you wouldn't have to say that. They would want to give back. But to even start to make someone feel like they need to, or that they should, or that they owe you, I think is bizarre.
Yeah. But then even with that, I guess there is a healthy-ish balance, and then there's a point where it gets toxic. And I think, unfortunately, so many of us have normalized toxicness in our relationships with our parents.
Yeah.
But because it's family, it's like, oh, you know, it's my mom, it's my... Yeah. I think even dealing with a toxic parent, that in itself is a whole... That's a whole series.
It's very draining. It's the worst thing ever. Literally.
It's heavy. It's really heavy. It's heavy. Oh yeah, well, let's round up, girl, because we now are just over 50 minutes. We're about to make it a whole hour, but it was a good conversation. And I do think even this conversation in itself opens up the door to so many other conversations. Because I'm sure this experience for you probably has shaped, or even maybe makes you reconsider how you would treat your children. Because I'm sure this is not something that you would want them to ever experience.
First of all, I'm not having a child or children until I feel like I can actually look after them and provide in every way. And I'll never want to put my kids in a situation where I'm feeling resentful, or I'm like, oh, I have you, and like, hopefully you'll pay me back. I'm not trying to be in that mindset. I'm not trying to... It's like, I need to provide for you. I need to make sure that you're safe. I need to make sure that you're educated. I need to make sure that you're surrounded by like love, you're protected, and that you grow up into, like, you know, an adult that I'm proud of, and that you're proud of for yourself, because that's what really matters. You need to be proud of the person that you've become. It's not just for me to be proud. You need to be proud as a person. And everything else after that is a bonus. Like, literally. Like, it's... Yeah. So that's why I just think people that have kids, and, you know, they're like... Because sometimes I come across a lot of people that's had kids, and their mindset have been, oh, it's not a good time right now, but everything will work itself out. I'll figure it out.
Listen,
and I'm like,
not for me, baby.
You can't... I just don't believe that you should enter motherhood or parenthood in that way. If you really assess and you see like, how is this going to be feasible, and you can't see, okay, this might be a bit unhinged, and this might be a bit unhinged, and this might be the part of Ghetto Therapy that...
Listen, well, we here now, child. Just don't cuss now. I need it for kids.
It's gonna be very wild, and a lot of people are not gonna like what I'm about to say.
I think I know what you're gonna say, but
I do not like everyone says, oh, you know, pregnancy is a blessing or a child
I
is
see
a
where she's going.
blessing.
Oh Lord.
But
Okay.
I'm gonna be so true. And yes, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but I don't believe that all of that. I don't believe when you look at your circumstance and certain things happen to you. I just feel like people use the whole, oh, a child is a blessing. They use it to kind of gloss over the responsibility and the accountability of, oh, is this feasible? Can I do this?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, oh, you know, you should be like, oh, I'm doubting, so I shouldn't. But come on, like we live on Earth. We live in a world where you need resources.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you already cannot see where those resources are coming, why would you continue with a pregnancy that is gonna probably keep you down or low? That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people will be like, no, da 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 da. But I don't believe that every child is a blessing, every pregnancy is a blessing. That's just how I see things. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, how can you say that? But when I look at the situation in the world and I look at how some people have brought children into the world, and those children have been abused, those children have been abandoned, those children have been left, and some of these children have been killed, murdered, you know, been harmed in such a way that they can't even come back, or even they can't come back to when I say to life, but to like their innocence or their wholeness, to who they're supposed to be. They're literally lost in the world and they die in that state. How can you tell me that everything or every pregnancy outside of the normal circumstance of a mom, do you know what I mean? I'm talking about the circumstance of like a teenage pregnancy, a young mom, or mainly teenage pregnancy, people who know they really cannot afford having a child, but they're just gonna see what happens. I wouldn't, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't personally be that person that be like, oh, the bright side is that this is a blessing. I'm gonna be like, bro, where's the feasibility in this? This doesn't make sense. And that's just me. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their thing, and that's it. But I used to just think that's just a broken. Whenever I hear, oh, like they'll list 5 terrible things that's going on, and then they'll be like, oh, to just write off all of those things that don't make logical sense. Oh, it's a blessing anyways. It's like, no, it's not. Not to your circumstance, not to your situation, not to where you're at right now. It's not a blessing. Like, just be for real. It's not. It's okay to say that.
And I think also, there's a lot of things that people, especially people that have some level of faith, whatever they believe in, it's very easy to put everything on God and to not take accountability.
But remember,
some
faith
children are simply
Got to always remember that.
Yes, that too. But also, every action has a consequence.
That too.
And sometimes the children, let's be real, they were just a consequence.
Basically,
most children were not made in love, were not planned.
Nope.
Most kids are unplanned, you know. And I think there's a level of, I think for me, having a child should be the most selfless, conscious decision you make. Because it's so much bigger than you. Like, looking at the consequences of the way you are parented or not parented, the experiences you go through directly from your parents and your family dynamic, and how much that can impact not only you, but also the generations from you. I think it's just such a big decision that when people just are so willy-nilly, I'm just like, how can you do that? For me, I'm thinking about all the things, and people say to me all the time, like, oh, if you always feel that way, you're never gonna. I'm happy how I am right now. But I think for me, just seeing the consequences of how parenting can be on a child, like, it's not a decision I'm ever gonna take lightly. Whether that means me being an older mum, I don't mind, because I'd rather be at a stage where I'm like, this is really what I want. I'm willing to make the sacrifices. I can afford this, because in this economy, you need to be able to afford them kids. That's one thing. But it's just such a big decision. You can't take that lightly. It's so much bigger than you.
And that's the thing. And I think a lot of people take it lightly by just saying, oh, this is a blessing, and it glosses over everything and just make all the other things should like basically be shut down, and it doesn't actually let them sit down and process what's really going on right now. You just gloss it over and slap on, oh, this is a blessing, oh, every child is a blessing, oh, this, like, no.
That's it. I mean, a lot of people don't think critically, and I'll be honest, I think seeing both sides of it, I think a lot of people, they don't really want to confront their reality. And even if you think about it from a financial perspective, I see this all the time. It's like, a lot of the times, even with finance, people are like, oh yeah, God will provide. He will. But if you really read the Bible in context, there's so much, there's wisdom in everything. A lot of financial decisions are made because of bad decisions.
He can only provide if you're doing something. If you're not doing anything, he's not providing.
Period.
And that could be in the face of whether you're working, but also could be whether you have connections, network, relationships. Because you've got some people sitting at home, they don't have no money, and they'll literally sit there and be like, God will provide or whatever. But you're sitting in the house. You're not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
You're not out in the, networking or in your community. That is the part of, you need to be doing your part.
Yeah.
People who might be proud to not even speak up to someone and say, oh, this is the situation I'm going to. How can he provide if you don't open your mouth?
Exactly.
How can he provide if you don't, where is it? What's the word? Not be present, but, show up.
Yeah.
How can you provide if you don't connect to a community or place yourself in a community? How can he provide? You think he just provide in thin air? Like, no. If you're going to pray and say, because I bet you, if you pray to God and you're like, oh, I need you to provide, God will start moving and he will nudge you to go there or do this or speak to this person or message this person or do whatever.
Yeah.
You don't just pray and say, oh, God provide, and then he just looks at you and you sit there in silence and you sit in his presence and nothing happens. He will start moving you. So it's like, you've got to play your part. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Wow, well, thank you. I'm definitely going to wrap up because we're now 1 hour 4.
Yeah.
I mean, after editing, I'm interested to see where we'll get to.
And if anyone gets to the end of this, they'll hear my unhinged thoughts. But other than that,
I mean, period. This is the after dark. I mean, it is Ghetto Therapy. So
yeah,
welcome.
and I'm not sugarcoating anything.
I mean, one thing about you ain't going to sugarcoat. But firstly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, opening up about what you've been through. I appreciate it. I mean, I've heard the story, but, being willing to share it on the platform as well, I appreciate that. My voice is even croaky, but we're coming to the end anyway. But yeah, thank you for opening up, sharing your story. But yeah, this is episode 1 of the new series, Ghetto Therapy. Myself featuring Miss Chante Bennett, period. I'm going to put all her links in the description.
Well, we're going to be
We're going to
collaborate.
Yeah. See, we're in tune.
Yes.
We're going to collaborate this clip on YouTube. So that will come up on your YouTube as well. But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. And guys, let us know. I will put a poll in. I'm thinking about for next topic that we can explore together for our next Ghetto Therapy or one to come. I'm thinking exploring Black tax, family dynamic, living in the diaspora, and the first generation burden.
Ooh.
The first generation burden, I've had that on my content ideas for like over a year.
Yeah.
But it's a conversation I've wanted to explore with someone else. And I feel like you're the person. So let's do it.
Yes, let's do it.
But yeah, thank you for listening. If you've gotten to the end, you a real one. You are a real one. And if you could relate to anything we spoke about today, honestly, do not suffer in silence. Speak to someone. If you're based in the UK, reach out to Citizens and Advice Bureau. There are so many free resources. If you are an older person, you've got Age UK, a charity that works with older people. Even just Google. If you've got internet, Google.
But also, my DMs is very much open. So if you want to have a conversation, I'm open to chatting, and I can direct you to therapists if you need to speak to someone, and also organizations that I've also spoken to myself, or because I've been through it, I can even tell you like the steps, what to do, depends on where you're at and stuff like that. Yeah, basically.
Thank you. And yeah, all contact details will be in the show notes. And also, lastly, just to plug, so on the 8th of January, I'm making sure that I'm saying the right day, I do have a finance reset session coming up. So again, all the details for that will be there. Now we are officially in 2026. And if you want to reset your finances, really start coming out of that, how we get in that cycle. Oh yeah, new year, new me. But if you're serious about really making it a new year and just being intentional with your goals, putting a plan into place. Like Chante said before, sometimes you're asking God for provision, but you need to be doing something for him to provide.
Yes.
So it's really about getting clear with our goals, our intentions. What do I really want and why do I want it? Because even sometimes the financial goals that we set for ourselves are things we feel like we should be having, but not necessarily what we want. So in this session, we're going to break down your goals, really look at where you're at and where you want to get to. So all the details for that will be there. So sign up. And lastly, do not forget to like, follow the podcast, share it with a friend, speak about this in your group chat. I'm sure this can open up a wider conversation.
Yes.
And thank you again, Chante. Any last words?
Thank you for having me. No, just thank you for having me. I think if anyone's, like we said before, experiencing or going through the thing or going through similar thing or whatever, like I said, I'm open to speaking. So feel free to reach out because I always want to help others, especially younger people, see how they can like navigate stuff like this, because I wish I had someone that I could basically go to or knew that I felt safe to go to with it.
Yeah.
It's not later in life then I realized, other people also went through the same thing, but then by then it's too late.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And I'll just say, like, stay positive and thanks for listening, and we'll be back again soon.
Thank you, friend. All right, we out. See you in the next one. Have a good rest of your week, and I pray that 2026 will be an amazing one for you.
Amen.
Mwah.